So Liam is asking, best ways to find musicians to join a band.
Okay, so depending if you're in music college, depending what sort of area you're in, if you're in London, you're going to have a lot more people. There's a lot more noise. If you're in out in the sticks in the country, there might not be as many musicians. But one thing I would say is musicians are very, very fickle people. They want to be on the winning side. They want to be in a band that's going to be successful. And momentum is a big thing for me when it comes to finding musicians. Like, for example, the Foo Fighters are never going to have a problem finding a new guitarist or a new drummer or a bass player because they've got that momentum. And lots of people are trying to find band members without having anything out on show to attract those band members. So if you think about any forms of life, if you're going dating, you have to have something that's going to pull people in, whether it's a picture that's going to attract people, whether it's something about you, whether it's interests. When it comes to finding band members, there's a lot of musicians out there. So yeah, you might luck out. The amount of times when I was at BIM that people would say, we formed a band because we all live in the same house. And I just think, fuck me, that's lazy. It can work, but to be honest with you, for me personally, if I was going to put a band together, I would go and headhunt people. I would say, I want that guitarist or I want that bass player, and I would do my best to get them. If you are approaching it from that angle of going and finding people, then for me, a big part of it is having something there that's going to attract them. So for example, you might be a songwriter. If you are, then or a singer-songwriter, then I would be looking at putting together a strategy on something like Facebook so that when you approach someone and say, this is my stuff, I would like you to come and be involved in it, they feel like they are working on a winning formula, as it were. So, and that takes time and it takes effort and it takes a lot of energy. So you can't, if you're going to just walk up to people and just start saying, be in my band, then you will find people, but it's such a punt. And with the music that you're into, with looking at the styles of music, the style of fashion, the work ethic, for me, it's about headhunting people and going and finding the right people. And that takes work because, going to open mic nights, going to other bands' gigs, go to other bands' gigs. This is harsh, but the thing is, this is about winning for me. This is about getting a band that works. Going to another band's gigs and actually finding a bass player or a drummer or a guitarist and saying, that guy's amazing, I want that guy in my band. What do I have to do to get that drummer to be in my band as well as this other band, so that long term, eventually my band works and he can leave that band and be in my band? If you're going to do that, then what's really, really important is you've got to be able to find a way of attracting them to be in your band as well as that other band. So there has to be. If you're not online, then you don't exist effectively. So it just takes away from just approaching any musician that you can find. A big problem I find is usually singers. I mean, I'll talk to you about this in a minute, but singers trying to find musicians, because a lot of singers don't play instruments. So if you don't play instruments and you're a singer, trying to actually write songs has got to be difficult because you haven't got a melodic instrument to be able to write the song. So then you need to find musicians who can help you with the songwriting that can then build the momentum to expand from there. And there are lots and lots of great singers who aren't songwriters. So then how you actually form a band if you are a singer, because either you're trying to just jump straight into a band, especially if you're a female singer. I notice there's so many female singers that want to do projects that aren't in bands. And how do you attract musicians? And then it comes down to things like fashion. It comes to what you stand for. It comes from you, your organizational skills that you can bring to say, look, we are going to rehearse on these days, because musicians are inherently bad at being organized. So therefore, having someone with those kind of leadership qualities and someone with those kind of organizational skills is very attractive to someone who hasn't got them, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So when you started your band, do you play instrument as well?
Yeah, I play rhythm guitar. Yeah.
Rhythm guitar. So that helps with your songwriting. Yeah. When it came to finding musicians, how did you go and find the guys that you wanted in the band?
Well, for me, I wanted to work with people that were easy to work with, because for me to kind of feel comfortable to songwrite with someone, I always want them to be my friend, so that we can pass ideas back and forth comfortably. So when I was kind of creating my band, I was sort of looking for people that I knew that I already kind of knew I could have a good relationship with and I knew I could rely on and work with. easily. But also I was picking friends that I knew played a similar genre to me and liked the similar kind of music I would, so that I'm working with people that I knew I could get on board with their ideas.
And did you have songs at that point that you could present to them?
Yeah, and
Right.
then I would work with them and see if we can kind of build on them and
Right.
kind of change them a bit.
And I think that aspect of having something that you can build on is so important.
Yeah.
Because, as a singer, if you just say, I'm a great singer, it's like, there are a lot of great singers in the world. There are a lot of great guitarists in the world. So if you are a singer, and I know there's a lot of singers that watch this who aren't in bands that want to be in bands, and I used to have this at BIM where there'd be 100 singers and they'd all be like, how do I get in a band? How do I get in a band? And I'm thinking, well, you have to have something that's going to attract other musicians first, rather than just wandering up and saying, do you want to be in a band? Do you want to be in a band? Do you want to be in a band? So in that case, then I would suggest for singers, going and, if you're not a songwriter, going and finding a songwriter in another band and say, look, I am a singer. I want a project which I can attract some musicians to. I need your help. And if you say to a songwriter who's in another band, look, come over to my house, I'll buy some beers, I'll make you dinner, or I'll take you out for some beers, or whatever it is. In return, what I really want is I just want you to write me a song, or work with me on writing me a song, or teach me to write me a song. It gives you the onus. So it's a case of taking it back to the beginning on a singer's instance, and having something that's attractive to other musicians, songs, fashion, and something to stand for. If you're already in a band and you are having trouble finding a musician, then I would say, well, your social media is not good enough, because the stuff I do is just for fun, but I never in a million years would I have a problem with attracting a musician. And the reason for that is because of the leadership side to it, because I know where we're going, because I've got plenty of marketing that backs it up, because people can go on the social media, they can see it building, because people want to be on the winning side. They can see it build and build and build and build. And musicians want to be on the winning side at all times. So, I am under no delusions that the guys that I play with, or the guys in any of my bands that work every week, if the Foo Fighters come knocking, they are going to go and jump ship. That's the way it works. So they're always looking for it. They're looking for that win, because everybody wants to be successful as a musician. So if you're in a band and your drummer leaves and you need a new drummer, I would say you need to be on the trail of going and building your social media so it looks more attractive, and then going and find drummers in other bands and saying, I like your stuff, I really like what you do, we need to do it, you need to be in my band as well. And make it an offer that they can't refuse, so that when they look at your social media, they're thinking, I think this is going to work, I think this is going to take off. It might take 3 or 4 goes, but you will definitely be able to find those drummers. But it is hard work. When you want to find the right drummer, it's just a lot of hard work. Going and approaching colleges, the amount of times that I would say to people, walk into the drum room in college where there's 15 drummers and just say, this is my band, I want a drummer. Just interrupt the class and say, I want a drummer. There's 15 drummers. And then leave a card, or just write it on the board what the band is, and do that on all the drum classes. If you're not getting something out of those 40, 50, 60 drummers, then something is wrong with the product as opposed to the drummers. So you, again, just like any marketing, you have to break into the marketing. You have to get into that room of the drummers and say, I want a drummer for this project. We are doing blah, blah, and blah. And the only reason why drummers wouldn't want to do that, or guitarists or bass players, is because they're looking at it and they're just thinking, this is not working fast enough. And then it's down to you to make it work faster. So it's a more attractive proposal for that musician.
Cool. So to kind of like summarise what you were sort of just saying then, so you're saying to find musicians, you're looking at kind of research, finding the people that are right for you, and having, say, something sellable or unique about your band.
Yeah, and it comes down to me, to momentum and work. If I want to go and attract people into my business, if I just wander up and ask people who are really, really good and just say, fancy doing a business, they're probably going to say no. Mm-hmm. However, if I said to them, this is the business, this is what's happening at the moment, this is the momentum of it, like the Dragon's Den, this is the money that we're making, or this is how the product is getting into something, then people are going to take it more seriously. Mm-hmm. So for me, if people aren't coming to you saying, I'll be your band, when you put something on Facebook or you put something on Gumtree, then they probably are seeing it and they aren't buying into it. Therefore, it comes down to your momentum, or what you can do before that. So take responsibility for looking at your social media, for how fast it's working, for what videos that you're doing, for what demos that you're doing. Because here's the thing, any drummer, guitarist or bass player, if you say to him, look, I don't want you to be in the band, I just need you to come and play in the studio on our album or on our single, everyone's going to do that. I'll do that. Like, if I've got time, someone says I need bass on my track in Brighton, I'll be like, yeah, what, 3 hours worth of going in the studio and having fun? Like, people will do that. So in which case, if you need to build the momentum by saying, I don't have the musicians, but I can bring in that person I know who's fantastic to play in the studio. Once you've got an amazing demo and then presenting it to drummers and saying, look, this is the product, do you want to be a part of it? You'll have so much more out of the musicians in your local area, because they're seeing something and they're enjoying it and they're thinking, I can see myself on stage playing that track. Then you'll get there.